Welcome back. We've been covering late-breaking news in Uvalde for the last hour or so, and the Department of Justice now finally releasing a report on law enforcement response during that deadly shooting at Robb Elementary.
That's right. Some very heartbreaking details included in that report, grueling details of what happened there that day at Robb Elementary. The sweeping report, more than 500-page document detailing what the DOJ calls cascading failures. It says that on that day, police showed, quote, no sense of urgency, end quote.
But it didn't stop there. It went into great detail as to all of the failures, as well as what we must do now as a country. Our Lee Waldman has been poring over this report. And Lee, I'm sure it was a gut punch to you, too, to see some of these details right there in print.
Right, Ursula and RJ, it's a huge document, almost 600 pages. And I'll be honest, I'm not all the way through it yet. We're still trying to take in all of what was uncovered, but it does reaffirm what we have been thinking for these last 20 months since May 24th, 2022, that the law enforcement response on that day when a shooter was in a classroom with children and teachers, that law enforcement response was an absolute failure. That was the message from Attorney General Merrick Garland over and over again today, and also by the Associate AG Vanita Gupta. Now, they pointed to some of those failures, and they also pointed to who should have been in charge that day. And they said that the de facto commander of that day was the UCISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo. They also pointed to the acting police chief for Uvalde Police Department, Mariana Pargas, and said that they were redirecting law enforcement away, making sure that it was a delayed entry, asking for things like keys, looking for SWAT as reinforcement when there was children inside of that classroom with a gunman who had an AR-15. They pointed out the fact that law enforcement was in that hallway when shots were fired out again, but they were treating this as a barricaded suspect. And that's what they said was the main failure of what happened on May 24th at Robb Elementary. Now, you mentioned how sweeping this document was. I want to give you an idea of what that was. It was over 14,000 pieces of evidence. That's documentation, that's looking over policy, that's looking at body-worn cameras, 911 calls, 14,000 pieces of evidence that the DOJ team looked over. They conducted over 260 interviews from victims' families, from survivors' families, from those law enforcement agencies, and they made 9 trips here to Uvalde over these past 20 months since then Mayor Don McLaughlin asked for the DOJ to come in. They're hoping that this is a sweeping look at what went wrong that day. They said they had 3 main goals in coming up with this report. The first one is to honor the 21 who were taken from us on May 24th, and also the survivors. There were 17 other people who were hurt that day and who lived. They also said that second point that they're trying to get across is highlight what happened with that law enforcement response, the failures that took place that day. And third, lay out guidelines for the rest of the law enforcement agencies across the country so that they know the proper way to respond if a shooting like this were to happen in their community. Something that really stuck out to me is they talked about Columbine. When the Columbine High School shooting happened, it took 47 minutes for law enforcement to go inside and take care of the gunman. After that happened, they, as in law enforcement, came up with protocols of response of what they should be doing if there is an active shooter. At Robb Elementary, it took 77 minutes for law enforcement to finally go inside and engage with the shooter and save the children who were still alive and the people who were fighting to survive those injuries. So the protocols that were set in place when Columbine happened were clearly not followed by the law enforcement agencies that were here today. We also just finished wrapping up listening to a press conference from some of the families who were represented by a lawyer here, and they said this also just reaffirms the fact of what they believed. And now seeing that on paper makes it more concrete to them. We met with some of the families last night after their meeting with the DOJ, and we'll have some of that for you later on this evening. But they said after almost 2 years and you believing but not having it affirmed that something went wrong, and believing that law enforcement didn't act that the way they were supposed to, you start to doubt what you believed your reality is. This reaffirmed what their reality is.
Yeah, Lee, something that stuck out to us, obviously, is we talk about that timeline there, 77 minutes, but they entered the classroom at 75 minutes and took out the shooter in about 2 minutes' time. So you imagine just had they responded much earlier. When the parents, the family members, hear these types of details, these types of information, you've gotten to know them, you've gotten to get very close to them. I mean, what do you think just kind of goes through their mind when they're hearing some of these just crushing details?
Well, I think what goes through their mind is, why didn't they act sooner? Why, when my child was hiding underneath their desk, or my mom was sitting there using her own body as a shield to try and protect her students, why didn't law enforcement go in then? Because it was known that there were students from inside of that classroom calling 911. They heard gunshots being fired while those law enforcement officers were waiting out in the hallway. And to remind all of you, I know we've showed that hallway video before, 376 officers from nearly 24 agencies responded to Robb Elementary on that day. And for many of them, it wasn't clear what was happening because they were told on scene it was a barricaded suspect, because those incident commanders, Pete Arredondo and Mariano Pargas, made it seem like it was that. They believed that either the gunman was dead or that there was a law enforcement officer inside of that classroom with the gunman. So there was a lot of misinformation. So I know these families hearing it again and again, that it took 77 minutes, it breaks their hearts.
I was just looking over the recommendations that were being made at the summary and the recommendations that were being made by the DOJ, and reading from that, it says, over the course of the incident, overwhelming numbers of law enforcement personnel from different agencies self-deployed to the school. Leadership on scene, however, had not established the command, the control. They did not have an incident command post. They didn't have a staging area. They had no clear perimeter around the classrooms or at the school. So anyone who arrived there did not receive any accurate information as to what the staging of everything was. And that added to the inaction. The situation of that you're in is you don't even know where to go because there's no one directing you anywhere. So that army of law enforcement had no clue where to go.
Exactly. And Ursula, I'm glad you pointed that out, because, again, I want to go back to UCISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo. He arrived on scene, and he was dubbed in this report multiple times the de facto incident commander. So he should have been in charge in setting up that command post and telling people where to go, what to do when they arrived. He arrived on the scene with a radio and discarded that radio when he got inside the school, was instead talking with people and using his cell phone to try and communicate, rather than using the radio, which could have provided clear direction to everyone who was coming to that scene. You know, we asked the Attorney General, we were given a chance to ask him 2 questions at this press conference today. And my first question to him was looking at the failures that are laid out in this report, looking at the 2 men who were dubbed as the incident commanders over and over again, Pargas and Arredondo, asking him, had they acted in the way that protocols were lined out after Columbine, could lives have been saved? And he said yes.
Another point that both RJ and I we're a little ill to our stomachs right now was the idea that after the event was over with the shooter, there was still a lot going on. You had wounded, you had frightened children everywhere. And reading again from this report, some of the children were reunited at the hospital, but other families got incorrect information suggesting that their family members had survived when they had not. And also others were notified of the deaths of their family members by untrained personnel who didn't know how to deliver that kind of, the news that no parent wants to hear. They were being told it casually by someone who had no training in how to inform a parent that their child had died. It shows that even after all of this was over, the pain and punishment continued on for these families.
Absolutely, it did. They were told this information that their loved ones were killed in a school where they should have been safe, where they were 2 days away from celebrating summer break. They just had their awards ceremony that day, taking you back to what that day was. It was a celebration. Their parents had been there with them just hours before they were taken from all of us. So hours later than being told at the Civic Center that autopsies are going to be needed to identify who these people are. That is not the way that you deliver that kind of news to parents and to spouses and to children, that the loved ones that they kissed and hugged that day weren't coming back again. So it was a cruel way to deliver that news. They also pointed out the fact that the law enforcement response was so scattered, ambulances couldn't get to the school to help people who were injured. And then once they were able to get to the school, deceased victims were taken to the hospital in ambulances, and kids who had been shot were placed onto school buses and then taken over to hospitals. That's something we told you about in our 1 Year in Uvalde special. And we heard from one of the bus drivers who described having injured children on her bus. And it's horrific to have that also put out on paper. A detail that really stuck out with me, though, is the fact that once everything was done, once the shooter was killed, once the victims were taken out of that classroom, kids were finally rescued from that classroom, those two classrooms, there was law enforcement officers who kept going back to those classrooms, who were not going back because they needed to do something for the crime scene, they needed to do further investigations. They were simply going to look at the crime scene, take in how horrific it was. And that affected the crime scene investigators in doing their own investigation and really drew out that process. So that was a new detail I had no idea about before reading this report. And I'm sure there's going to be more that we learn when we finally make our way through this very extensive report.
Some very seriously bad police work tainting the crime scene.
Absolutely heartbreaking news there. Lee Waldman on the ground for us in Uvalde. Thank you very much, Lee. We know that you're going to be very busy poring over this report, and we'll be on the lookout for your reports later on air and online. Thank you very much.
Keep up to date with all of San Antonio's top news, weather, and so much more by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. And once again, thanks for watching KSAT.